So I don't know if you guys have been following the news recently about the Mario Brothers movie, but we've had a lot of news stories about the box office performance of this film because it's breaking all kinds of box office records, and right now it stands at about $1.29 something billion. It's the second most successful animated film of all time. It's still trailing Frozen 2. It most recently beat Frozen, and I wanted to talk for a second about why I'm excited about the box office performance of this film and why I'm glad that it did beat Frozen. So, if you don't know, and I'm sure you do, Nintendo just released a Super Mario Brothers movie, an animated film, fully animated film, kind of had an all-star cast, had some pretty famous people in the voices, in the roles for the voices, all voice acting because it's all completely animated, 3D animated, and in the 90s, they released this live-action Super Mario Brothers movie, which did not do well at all. It was a box office bomb, and it was a critical and commercial failure, as they say. Now there's this new film, and I'm excited about it beating Frozen, and I'm going to talk about why for a second. So, basically, video game movies have not historically been very good. And I think the reason video game films have not been very good is because the studio has the wrong idea about who the film is supposed to be for and what they need to do to bring the film to that audience. So essentially, my excitement about the Super Mario Brothers movie beating Frozen has nothing to do with the quality of Frozen. It has everything to do with what it means for video game films in general. So to clarify, I think Frozen is a very, very good film. And I think a lot of animated films are better than the Super Mario Brothers movie in terms of writing and in terms of what they're bringing to the story as far as complex ideas that appeal to kids and adults. So I'm not denying any of that. But video game movies have been made by studios who have basically tried to do what they could to appeal to both video game fans and the general population, and they kind of end up appealing to neither of them. It's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, because what they end up doing is they say, well, we can't make this video game film like the video game. That's too weird. People aren't going to go for that. We can't just put the things in the game in the actual film. So what we have to do is change a bunch of stuff and kind of keep some of the arbitrary things about it, but make it very different, basically do a bunch of stuff with it that is going to make it appeal to the general audience. The problem is, I think the general audience typically isn't going to care much about a video game film. They're the people who really want to see the film, the people who are going to go disproportionately at higher rates are those people who are fans of the original game, and the people who are in the general population might go if it looks kind of cool, but it's going to be just kind of a generic film at that point. Like, it's a generic, cool-looking film from a brand I don't recognize. I'm probably not going to be too inclined to go to that. So those people aren't particularly happy with it. And the people who are fans of the game definitely aren't happy with it because they've changed a bunch of stuff. They've changed everything that was appealing about the game to begin with. So it's a case of trying to appeal to everyone and appealing to no one. And here comes Nintendo after this 1990s movie. I think it was 93, and so this film came out in 2023, so that's 30 years later, and they basically did the complete opposite with this film. They decided, we're going to put everything that we can from the game in the movie. We're going to make the movie look like the game, and we're going to basically try to recreate that experience on screen. And it's fastly approaching becoming the most successful animated film of all time. And the reason that's good is because it sends a message to the studio. No more of this taking a video game character and putting them in the real world, or just making it fully live action and making it look nothing like the game and leaving out all the cool stuff from the game. It's that argument cannot stand anymore, because now everyone is trying to chase Mario. And the reason I wanted it to beat Frozen was because just of the way that point sounds. I mean, it's true. If it would have grossed just under what Frozen grossed, it still would have been highly successful, right? It still would have been something that studios paid attention to. But when you think of successful animated films in this day and age, you think Frozen. Every parent, and probably every non-parent, knows Frozen, right? So just that sentence, Mario beat Frozen, it really gets people's attention. It really sends that message that this is the way to go for video game films. And all these news articles got published when that happened. A lot of people who weren't paying attention to the Mario film are now paying attention to it. I even had a few people in my life that I told this to, Mario beat Frozen, and they go, wow, that's impressive. I didn't realize it was that successful. And it's like the whole culture is aware of this now. And this Mario movie is something that I really wanted from the time I was a teenager, because I played Super Mario Bros. When I was a little kid, and I played the DS games when I was a teenager. I kind of highly identified with Mario as a hobby because that's something that I did in my free time, and I had a lot of free time because I didn't have a lot of social interaction with people. High school, my teenage brain expanding to fully appreciate things like art. That's when I was exposed to Super Mario Galaxy, and we got the more cosmic Mario perspective on those games. It is very silly, but there was a lot of beauty in those games. And then, of course, we've got 3D World and Odyssey now. I really wanted to see that world represented on the screen, and it has been, I think, with this film. Now, this Super Mario Bros. Movie, I have recorded a review for this, but I haven't posted it yet. This Super Mario Bros. Movie, I think, is good because it tries to capture the feeling of the Mario games. So this is very important to me. Super Mario Bros. Movie. The fact that it's the word bros in there, I think, is why I'm giving this a pass. Because when you play any of the mainline Super Mario Bros. Movie, any of the mainline Super Mario Bros. Games, I'm not talking about Galaxy, I'm not talking about 64, I'm not talking about 3D World. When you play the Bros games, those games are very much sort of fast tempo, a lot of fun, some comedy thrown in there, but mainly it's about the journey. That's what this film is. It's not trying to be Frozen. It's not trying to be Despicable Me. It's not trying to be Inside Out. It really is trying to be the Super Mario Bros. Movie. And I think people went into this because it was Illumination, and we've had some of those good plot lines and some of those poignant plot lines from Illumination as a studio. I think some people went into this expecting that. I did not go into this expecting that at all. And frankly, with all the politics, not really politics, but the bureaucracy surrounding video game movies nowadays, the fact that a good film even came out of that made me very happy. Now, there were some things in the film that I thought could be better for what it was trying to do, but mostly I think it was really good. There were a couple little hiccups, like I said, but I think mostly it was really good. Now, if this had been a Super Mario Galaxy film and it would have had this tone, I would have been disappointed, because going forward, I want these more complex sort of universes to be reflected on the screen in a way that does them justice. So, think about The Legend of Zelda, for example. I don't really want a slapstick comedy Legend of Zelda film. If I wanted a Zelda film, it would be, well, I do want a Zelda film, but what I would want from a film would be something that reflects that spirit of adventure and heroism and is more serious than a Mario Bros. Movie. If it was a Metroid game, it especially would be inappropriate. Metroid games are very dark in tone, very kind of eerie sci-fi feel, kind of like an Alien, like the movie Alien or movie Aliens, very much kind of that feel. And so that's the kind of film I would want. No, I don't want them to make an R-rated Metroid film, but I want them to throw in, there can be some comic relief in there, but I want them to mainly focus on a dark, more serious story that reflects the game, right? And if they come out with a Super Mario Galaxy film, that's a film that I would want to be more beautiful. That's something I would want to be more like the feel of Star Trek or the Lightyear film or something like that. Not something fast and slapstick like a Mario Bros. Movie or a Mario Kart movie even would be. So going forward, I think it's important to keep that in mind. But I still do give this film a pass. And again, I have no problem with Frozen. Frozen really was touching to a lot of people. Elsa is a good role model for lots of little girls and little boys. And I think that it's something that should be regarded as deserving its praise, and I don't think Mario should take its place in that way just because it made more money. I just saw an article that was published that was talking about how some people are looking at Into the Spider-Verse and hoping it makes more than Mario because it's of higher quality. And I understand that impulse, but we shouldn't judge films by the success at the box office. We should judge the films based on their quality, and I still believe that we should do that. But like I said, the reason I want Mario to make all this money is because strictly it sends a good message to the video game movie industry, like, stop making the movies deviate so far from the games to try to appeal to everybody, because you're appealing to nobody. And that's basically my thought on that. If you agree or disagree, please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you very much. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.